I'm the polar opposite, I think, of what I look like. So I think when people see me, I think I'm used to people staring, but I think people just might assume that I'm just a meathead, gym bro. But what most people don't realize is that, I just saw Taylor Swift live, floor seat, like the best concert ever. And I had one of the most amazing childhoods, and there truly wasn't anything that could prepare me. Currently, I'm an online nutritional coach, but former architect. I think, in retrospect, it was kind of more of a discussion on what home meant to me, being an adoptee and stuff like that. So for me, I thought, if I could build my own home, that would give me security and safety. And then as I've gotten older, home is more a place in my mind. Home, for all of us, is security, it's feeling safe, and that can mean a lot of different things. And I think when I look back on it, I think I wanted to be an architect at a young age because I wanted to build my own home. That was like essentially the idea. And then that kind of changed into a different meaning for me. Once I got into architecture, I just hated it, and then kind of realized that my passion was to help people make change in their lives, even if it's on a small scale with an individual. You could say I'm an architect when it comes to changing people's body compositions, mental states, relationship with food, yeah. I think most Korean adoptees, or transracial adoptees, I think a lot of us have identity issues because my whole family's white. I almost sometimes forget that I'm Asian until someone's racist to me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. My siblings and I were, we were very fortunate. We were adopted by a loving family, big family, and my father worked for ExxonMobil, so we basically lived overseas my entire life. So from kindergarten to 10th grade, we were in Italy, Singapore, London, Norway, so most of my life has been overseas. My siblings and I had one of the most amazing childhoods, and there truly wasn't anything that could prepare me for what was to happen. I was going to school in Norway. This was in 8th grade. The school that we went to, it was very difficult to play local high schools in basketball, right? So we would scrimmage against the faculty. And so I just remember there was a teacher, and he had caught a rebound, elbowed me in the chest, knocked the wind out of me. I didn't think anything of it. And then when I got home, I was walking upstairs, and the best way I can describe it is like if you could have like 1,000,000 knives inside your chest cavity, hitting you at all angles, front, back, up your neck, every time you took a breath. So then I was forced to quickly take shallow breaths, but the pain was so intense for me at the time. I remember just kind of sitting on the staircase, and I couldn't even yell for help. Finally, one of my siblings found me, and then my father took me to the hospital. They said, oh, you have a collapsed lung. That quickly turned into me being rushed into an OR. And in Norway, they don't give you anesthesia. So they gave me Novocaine for the incision. I remember that was painful. But then when they inserted the chest tube into my chest cavity, I was fully awake for that. And Novocaine only works so deep. It was just the longest 30 minutes of my life. I've never experienced pain to a point where you really can't think, like nothing else really matters besides the moment you're in, because you're just trying to get to the next second. They said, your lung's gonna reinflate, we'll remove the chest tube, which was also very painful, and then you'll be fine. But then that led to 4 other collapses and more surgeries and stuff like that. So I quickly realized how fragile life is and how quick things can change. And that's when I started kind of going down a dark route where I was full-blown victim mode. Why is this happening to me? Look at me, poor me. I'd get angry if people would complain about things that were painful. And I think, well, you don't know what pain is. I was just an angry teenager at that point and kind of lost interest in a lot of things. And then that led to my parents having a talk with my basketball coach. And they said, hey, something's wrong with him. Can you just have a talk with him because we're not getting through to him? But he tells me the story. He's like, hey, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to tell you a story. You're not going to understand it, but you'll figure it out. And I was angry. I was confused. I was like, okay, what? And he said, picture yourself straddling a line. Your right foot's in the past, your left foot's in the future, and you're pissing on the present. And at 16, I was like, that's gross. Like, why are you telling me that? And then he says, okay, get out of my office. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, you'll figure it out. And for years, it haunted me. I was like, just the image. I'm like, well, I don't understand any of that. Like, that was stupid. And as I got older, I realized, look, I can worry about things that have happened, dwell on them, but they're done. You got to take the silver lining and move forward. I could worry about things happening, what ifs, but I don't have any control over that. So I'm squandering what I have control over, which is in the present. Playing the victim card gets you nowhere, and you take zero ownership over anything. And it's just a blame game. The situation, which I later learned, was that I was born with these blisters on my lungs called blebs. And if there's too much pressure in my chest cavity, they rupture and then my lung collapses. I just remember living in a hospital. There was no happy moments. And then it just made me believe, it's like, don't get your hopes up. Don't fly high, don't take risks, fly low, because when shit hits the fan, because it will, that fall isn't that great. I always saw the glass half full. And then after all that, the glass was always half empty. I thought one chest tube was it, I'm done. That was a terrible experience, I'm good. And that, when I had 3 other lung collapses and 3 other surgeries, it put me in this tailspin where I'm like, what's the point of getting excited about anything? What's the point of being happy if I'm just gonna be stuck in a fucking hospital again? And I lived in that realm for a long time. And then when I realized that things happened for me, not to me, that's when things changed.